What if the hardest stone mentioned in the Quran is not in a mountain, but beating quietly inside the human chest? What if the story of a murdered man, a cow, and stones that split open is not just an ancient history, but also a living mirror of your inner state right now? Surah Al-Baqarah, verses 72 to 74, are often read as a historical episode of Bani Israel. But the Sufis never stop at history. They listen for the inner address, the whisper meant for the seeker's heart. Today, do not listen with intellect alone. Let these words pass through your breath, your spine, your pulse. If you listen deeply, you may feel tightness loosen, warmth rise, and a forgotten tenderness awaken. Verse 72, the inner crime. And when you killed a man? In outward tafsir, this refers to a physical killing. In Sufi understanding, every Quranic killing also has an inner meaning. The man here symbolizes the pure inner self, Qalb-i Salim, the voice of conscience, the natural awareness that knows right from wrong without explanation. This inner man is not killed suddenly, he is killed slowly. Each time the ego dominates, each time desire overrides truth, each time the heart whispers, "This is wrong," and you ignore it, a blow is struck. Eventually, the heart stops speaking. That is the murder. And you disputed concerning it. When the inner man dies, clarity dies with him. Truth no longer feels obvious. So arguments begin. Notice, a sincere heart asks questions. A dead heart debates. Dispute arises when responsibility is avoided. The ego does not want truth. It wants justification. You can feel this dispute in the body. Restlessness, agitation, the urge to prove yourself right, tightness in the chest. This is the ego defending its crime. And Allah was to bring forth what you were concealing. This is one of the most terrifying and merciful statements. Allah brings out what is hidden, not only on the day of judgment, but within this life. Hidden intentions leak into behavior. Suppressed guilt turns into anxiety. Denied truth turns into anger. Nothing buried inside the soul remains buried forever. Sufis say, what you hide from yourself, Allah reveals to you through life. The exposure is not punishment. It is an opportunity for awakening. Verse 73, the method of revival. So we said, strike him with a part of it. This is the heart of the mystery. Why a part of the cow? The cow represents heaviness, routine, attachment to the material, the unrefined lower self, nafs al-amara. Allah does not say destroy it. He says use a part of it. Why? Because the ego contains energy. When untrained, it destroys. When disciplined, it revives. That strike represents conscious effort, self-accountability, deliberate spiritual struggle. Revival does not come through comfort. It comes through intentional inner friction. You feel it when you pause before reacting, you admit fault instead of defending, you choose silence over ego. That effort strikes the dead heart. Thus, Allah brings the dead to life. This is inner resurrection. The Sufis call it revival of the heart. Signs of this revival: sudden softness, tears without sadness, humility without humiliation, remembrance without effort. This is not imagination. This is spiritual biology. A heart can truly die and truly return. And he shows you his signs so that you may understand. The signs are not abstract. They are moments that shake you, realizations that sting, events that humble you. Understanding here is not intellectual, it is recognition. The heart says, this verse is speaking about me. That recognition itself is a sign of life. Verse 74, the greatest warning. Then your hearts became hardened after that. The verse begins with a shock, not before guidance, not without signs, but after that, after truth was shown, after clarity was given, after revival became possible. Sufis say this is the most dangerous moment in the spiritual journey. when the heart has tasted awareness and then returns to sleep. Hardness does not arrive suddenly. It forms quietly. You still pray. You still listen. You still speak about spirituality. But the heart no longer trembles. You may notice reminders feel repetitive. Truth feels heavy instead of liberating. Humility feels unnecessary. The body senses it first. Breath becomes shallow, shoulders stiffen, the chest loses warmth. This is the hardness of the heart. So they are like stones. Why does Allah compare hearts to stones? Because stones are unchanging. They do not question. They do not resist. They remain exactly as they are. A hardened heart stops receiving, stops responding, stops being affected. The Sufis say, the sign of a living heart is that it is wounded easily. If nothing touches you anymore, neither pain nor beauty nor remembrance. This verse is speaking directly to you, or even harder than stones. This is a terrifying escalation. Why harder? Because stones obey Allah perfectly. They submit to gravity. They split when commanded. They fall when decreed. The hardened human heart, however, hears the truth, understands it, yet resists it. Knowledge without surrender creates a hardness greater than ignorance. This is why the Qur'an warns not against ignorance alone, but against knowing and still refusing to bow. For indeed, among stones are those from which rivers burst forth. Now Allah reverses the comparison. Even stones which appear lifeless can become sources of life. In the inner sense, this represents hearts that have been struck by hardship, loss, pain, failure, humiliation. But instead of closing, they break open. From them flow compassion, wisdom, mercy, patience. These are people whose suffering softened them. Their wounds became waterways. When you sit near them, you feel calmer, safer, more real. Their hearts flow. And among them are those that split open and water comes out. Not every heart bursts into rivers. Some open quietly, a single tear in solitude, a private repentance, a moment of honesty with Allah. No one sees it, no one applauds it, but Allah counts it. Do not underestimate gentle softness. And among them are those that fall down in fear of Allah. This is the highest description. These stones do not produce water. They surrender. They fall. This is not fear of punishment. It is awe. The heart finally stops standing against reality. It no longer tries to control. It no longer argues. You feel this state as stillness, silence, deep humility, absence of inner noise. The ego kneels, the soul rests. And Allah is not unaware of what you do. The verse does not end with threat, it ends with presence. Allah sees your inner resistance, your struggle to soften, your effort to remain awake. Even when you fail, even when hardness returns, nothing sincere is lost. This awareness itself prevents despair. Final inner message. These verses ask one question: is your heart flowing or hardened? Do not fear cracks. Fear becoming smooth stone, admired, untouched, lifeless. If you felt heaviness lift, or tightness soften, or silence deepen, pause the video. Place your hand on your chest. Breathe once, deeply, and whisper inwardly, "O Allah, do not let my heart harden after you have shown me." If this explanation awakens something, stay with this journey, subscribe, share, return. Because the Quran does not want your attention, it wants your heart.